everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomer Rossi, and I have another fun interview for you. I guess that's a surprise to you, huh? This one is with the grandson of the late, great Waylon Jennings. His name is Whey Jennings, and that's spelled W-H-E-Y. And he has a great new country album out, and it is phenomenal. If you like that good country that we heard in the 60s and 70s and early 80s, you're going to absolutely love this album. I certainly do. And Whey is just an amazing gentleman with an amazing story. He's still young, but he had his battles, and he is quite the ambassador for sobriety. Just like our good friend Ricky Byrd is, that we talked to a couple weeks ago. Amazing stories, amazing man with some amazing music. So you definitely want to hear this interview, especially if you're a good old-fashioned country fan. And while you're at it, as I always ask, would you please hit like, and even more importantly, would you please hit subscribe? Both are free. They're not going to cost you anything, and it helps us out a lot. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I hope are many more interviews to come with country star Whey Jennings. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerosity. Take care. Hello, Whey. Can you hear me?
I can now. How you doing, buddy?
Great. How are you?
Oh, good, man.
Thanks for clicking in for this chat. I really do appreciate it. So,
no
where are you clicking in from?
Pennsylvania. I'm at home right now.
Oh, okay. I thought you might be down more this way or something. So, what part of Pennsylvania?
I'm headed to Arizona this weekend.
Oh, really? What part?
We're gonna be in Safford, New River, Parker, Lake Havasu, and Mesa, and then we got one show in Ramona, California.
Oh, okay. I grew up in Phoenix. That's why I asked. But
okay,
in fact,
cool,
I think your dad or your granddad performed with Willie Nelson. And I saw him once, late 70s, early 80s, when I was out there. But, well, man, I'm so glad that you took the time to chat. I'm excited to speak with you. I love your music. It's refreshing to see real country music being recorded.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You're doing a great job. So I want to get the obvious out of the way so we can focus on the album here. Tell viewers when this thing posts, I'd like for you to tell viewers who your granddad is and what the obvious connection is there, and then let's get right into this album.
Oh, well, my grandfather's Waylon Jennings, and he's the reason I started playing music, and he's the reason I've continued to do it, and I've been trying to grow it on my own ever since then.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, it's coming through on this album, man, Jekyll and Hyde. When I listen to it, I get a lot of stuff sent to me, and whether it's country, blues, rock, whatever. And I'm always told, hey, man, you got to hear this. This is great. And I listen, and it's kind of like, oh, gosh, but on this one, I was like, whoa, good to hear some of the real thing now. And so tell me the story behind this album. What got you, what started this process? How long did it take you to get it from concept to packaging and out the door and that kind of thing?
Well, I spent most of my career putting out like EPs. I put out, I believe, 4 EPs. One of them I didn't really release on the internet or nothing. I just sort of sold it at shows. And me and my label got together probably about 3 years ago, and we did 2 EPs with this label. And they're like, we really need to step this up and put out a full album. And I was like, okay. So I started writing Hot and Hippie with a lot of really great writers on this one. David Wade, Wes Ship, Michael Curtis, Shane Grove. There's just so many on there that I can't name them all. But we come up with a great album, man. And I wanted to start it out with, I was going to call it Billboard Jesus, because that's the song that spoke to me the most at the time. And then I sat down with Wes again, and we just knocked out a bunch of really cool songs that I'd say probably about half the songs on the album turned out me and him wrote together. And we sat down and we went through it, and I was like, man, Jekyll and Hyde is the one that does it, because it kind of encapsulates the whole album. You got the dark side, you got the light side, and you got everything in between. So we went with Jekyll and Hyde, and I've never been more proud of anything I've ever done. It's really a great album.
Good deal. I happen to agree with you. Um, Going into the studio, you said you've done several EPs, and well, before I ask you this question, one question I need to ask is, have you worked with other people on their albums before putting out this album?
No, I haven't really worked on anybody else's albums. I've only really ever concentrated on putting out music with me, honestly, and I like to write with a lot of people who are really in it for the right reasons. And I'd like to record on somebody else's album one of these days. Probably going to be, I imagine the first album that I have a feature on will probably be my buddy West Ship, because me and him's written more songs together than we've written apart. So like we got a bunch of them finna be on this new album too. I've got it narrowed down to 22 songs. It went from 30 down to 17, back up to 22. Now I got to get it down to 12. So I've been writing with a bunch of cool people on this one too. I mean, I've Moose Brown, Earl Bud Lee, Billy Lawson, David Wade, Michael Curtis, West Ship, Tyler Booth, Kayla Ray, um, just a bunch of people, man. I've gotten to where I used to just write my own music and put it out. But I realized, more than one head probably is a better idea. Because just
Yeah.
because you love something don't mean everybody else is gonna love it too.
No, that's true.
A lot,
That's true.
a lot of times it does, but a lot of times it don't. So it's better to have more than one head.
So when you went into the studio, I'm sure you had certain expectations or preconceptions of what it was going to be like for you. Once you started working on the album, were there any surprises, something you didn't anticipate?
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, we was putting this thing together. I was like, and I'm doing the same thing now with this album. I'm like, these songs just ain't good enough. These songs just ain't good enough. And we went to the album, and we went to the into the studio, and they just absolutely came to life. I was like, okay, yeah, they are good enough. It's just it's hard to hear a full production on a song until it's on there, because until then it's just all work tapes, pretty much phone
Yeah.
recordings of you and a guitar and lyrics, and
Mhm.
you can't hardly tell what it's going to grow into. Like, prime example of that is Hotter in Texas off of this album. I
Mhm.
mean, if you heard the work tape to Hotter in Texas, it it's like it's the same song, but it's not the same song. It's like it just blew up into this thing. It's like so, I feel like if you work with the right people and you put your heart into it, into a song, and you believe in it enough that God's gonna put a little soul into it and grow it into what it needs to be. And
I
that's what
agree.
music is. A lot of times you gotta remind yourself this ain't your plan. This is
Yep.
God's plan, and you're just a piece in it.
Yep. Yep. Did you feel, because of your pedigree, your family and such, did you feel any pressure? Did you feel like there were maybe undue expectations placed on you for this, in your
Um,
work that makes it, where maybe you have to push back on it or something?
no, I mean I used to back in the day. When I first started doing this, I did this because my mama asked me to do it. I didn't do it because my grandfather was doing it. I always loved music, and I always, honestly, when I was really young, I really wanted to do it because of my grandfather. And then I got out on stage right about them, tender years of a young man, right around 12 or 13 years old, and got up there and froze like a deer in headlights. I was like, yep,
I can imagine.
this ain't for me. So I went and got a job, and I would never look back. And if it wasn't for my mama getting sick and asking me to do it, I would never done it. And I did it wrong for a lot of years. You know, a lot of the years I was pretty well just out there partying too much and it's kind of skating on a name and thinking I was doing good. I go back and look at the videos now and I'm like, geez, that was rough. But
Mm-hmm.
finally started doing it for the right reasons. I got sober and started, placing my faith in God where it should have been all along. And surrounded myself with good people and people who have the same work ethic with me and started creating my own kind of music, and it's got little tinges of my grandfather in there. It's got little tinges of my uncle in there and Leonard Skinner and all these other people that I looked up to, Jamie Johnson. You'll feel a little piece of them. Sturgill Simpson, of course, and little pieces of all these artists that I've always looked up to in there. I've
Mm-hmm.
been accused of being a nepo baby and all this stuff, and it used to get to me, but it just you can't really blame people for whatever they're going to think. Wherever they're at in their life, God bless them. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm where I'm
Yeah.
at in my life, trying to support my family, and I'm trying to put out music that means the world to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hanging out with people who are into the same thing I'm into. So
Good deal.
a lot of people are going to say they hear Waylon Jennings in that album, and I'm sure you do a little bit here and there. Hell, he's my grandfather. What do you expect?
Yep.
But I guarantee you're going to hear a whole lot more Whey Jennings in that album than you do Waylon Jennings. So,
That's true. That is true. Is it safe to say that your calling card for this album, for people to get introduced to you, would it be Jekyll and Hyde, or would it be a different song on the album?
oh man, I'd say it's about every song on the album. That's the thing about it. We got I think 20 songs last year together, and I cut absolutely everyone that grabbed a hold of me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I just I co-wrote most of them. There was a couple on there that I didn't co-write. Like one folder I didn't co-write that. But that song probably means just as much to me as any of the other songs, just because of how much I believe in this country. You know,
Mm-hmm.
every one of these songs means something to me for a different reason. You know what I mean? Because to say I am this would be crazy. Because I am this, and I'm also this, and I'm also this, and I'm also this. I'm a Christian. I'm a recovering drug addict. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a I'm a lot of things. I'm a music. I'm an artist. A lot of things, and all these songs grab a hold of a different piece of me. So I could say that about every one of them for a different reason. All
Mm-hmm.
these songs mean a lot to me, and they're little pieces of me. And if they help anybody through a place in their life that they're going through at any time they hear them, then that means we got something in common because these songs here helped me through times I was going through in my life. So
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that in the lyrics throughout all the songs, not every song necessarily being more obvious than the other, but in your album, I sense that you're really being an ambassador for sobriety. Is that a fair assessment?
that's a very fair assessment. I mean, not even just this album. I started doing that two EPs ago. I mean, when I first got out of rehab, I put out just before the sinning. I mean, if it wasn't for the sinning, and and there was a lot of songs on there that were, when you first come out of rehab, first thing you want to do is save the world. You just want to go out there and grab the world by the horns and say, "I fixed it," wow, and just put out all these bright shiny songs that just listen to this and it'll save your life, and it's
Yeah.
just it ain't the way it is. It's just that's where I was at that time. And then whenever we got about time to put out just before the dawn, I was a little more rooted in where I was actually at in my life. I mean, all the newness of it was kind of shook off. I was still kind of a teenager in it, I guess, but I wasn't just an infant in sobriety. I was like, I really wanted to do something that wasn't this big old happy news. Yay, life is going to be so, blissful kind of a song. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, because it's not the truth. The thing about it is no matter how sober you get and how well you live, you're still going to have these dark times in your life. You're still going to
Mm-hmm.
come across these hard times. You're going to have to face and make hard decisions in your life. You're going to always come across something that is going to make you really grow as a human, you know? And you got to
Mm-hmm.
make wise decisions in order to make that happen. As long as you're still sitting in your own squalor, then you're just always going to be there. You have to actually
Mm-hmm.
choose to stand up and walk out of that and start helping
Mm-hmm.
yourself. No matter how many times you fall down, the question is not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get back up. You know,
That's
and
right.
so that's what I tried to accomplish with Just Before the Dawn. Uh, it's a great song. I co-wrote with David Wade and a few other people, Shane Grove and Mark Taylor and somebody else, Taylor Hughes, I think is her name. Yes, and it was actually written for a movie. And when I heard the song to begin with, I was like, okay, is there something missing here? And I poured something out of my life into it, like right in the studio when I was recording it. Like I walked in there with this song, and then I changed this, and this, and it turned into this song. And it accomplished two things. It accomplished exactly what they needed for that movie, and it accomplished exactly what I needed in my life to, move forward as an artist and a human. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I've always believed in that song. I mean, it got like, I want to say it had very little promotion behind it, and it got over 600,000 views on it. And I talk to people at my merch booths nightly about that song and Sleeves and how they have helped them believe in themselves somewhat again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because as an addict, it's hard to believe in yourself,
Yeah.
especially when you know you're doing wrong,
Yeah.
but if you could forgive you, if you can ask God for forgiveness and know that he forgave you, it makes it that much easier for you to forgive yourself. And then once you're forgiven, it's like clean slate. You just move forward, start making right decisions. And it's like, that's the hardest part about forgiveness and growing is that you want to look back and regret, and you don't, regret ain't going to help you do nothing.
That's
You
right.
got to, once you've forgiven yourself, once God has forgiven you and you have forgiven yourself, it's forgiven. You got to leave all
That's right.
that back there. The only way you're going to face that again is if you go back to that, you know, like it says in the Bible, man, a dog will always return to its own vomit, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, as long as you don't return to that, and you keep moving forward and you keep bettering yourself, whether it's a big bite, a tiny little nibble, as long as you are better tomorrow than you are today, you're doing something right. And then from there, it's just you keep growing into this like uncontrollable thing, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to come across things in your life that are going to make you want to backtrack. And there's a lot of people that do relapse 20, 30 times. I never
Yeah.
did. I mean, but that don't mean that I'm stronger than anybody else. It's just because it took me longer than most people to want to get his crap together.
Yeah.
And I ain't got time to relapse. I'm a little too old for
Good.
that. So
Well, do you, I would imagine because of your story as well as the lyrics of your songs, um, you get a lot of people who are on their own journey of recovery. What kind of feedback are you getting from fans who are getting your message correctly and you and communicating that back to you? What are you hearing?
I'm hearing a lot of different things. I mean, you got to realize everybody's journey is different, so everybody's story is going to be different. And sometimes you talk to people, and you can see it in their eyes. They generally got it. They are headed in the right direction.
Hmm.
Sometimes you talk to people, and you know that they generally want to be headed in the right direction, but they're just not there yet. Sometimes you got people just blowing smoke up your butt. It just
Hmm.
depends on the human and where they're at in their lives. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
there was a certain time in my life, if I would have heard me talking to me, I'd have blew me off and just walked away. Got me another beer. And it was just, but that's the hard part about rehab. You got three different kinds of people in rehab. You got people who are court ordered to be there. You got people whose parents want them to go to rehab, and then you got parents. Then you got people who generally want to be at rehab and want to get help, and that third person is going to get help. These other two people, they're not. They have to be there on their own. And that's the
Yeah.
hardest part for us as human beings to realize. No matter how much we watch somebody that we love killing themselves, the only cure for them is within them. And if they don't find it themselves and they don't want it themselves, they're not going to find it at all. You know,
That's right.
we can
That's
want
right.
we can want better for them. We can want somebody to get help. We can want this, and if they go in there because you want them to, I'm not saying it's impossible for it to help them because they might find themselves along that journey. But if they don't find themselves along that journey during that process, that it doesn't stick. And that's the thing about it.
Yeah.
It's 90% here. You know,
Yep.
you
Yep.
gotta you gotta want it. It's just the
Yep.
way it
That's
is.
right. I have interviewed several times somebody that is a similar story, but in rock and roll, and he is very active with AA and helping people, and he's been sober for, I think he said 35 years. And that's Ricky Byrd from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and
Oh, cool.
he like you, he's very interested in getting that message out, and he's still a rock and roller. He still does what he does best, and because he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it has opened a lot of doors for him. But he's very much like you, very much an ambassador for sobriety, and he meets with people to help encourage them. He's written whole albums about sobriety, and
Mm-hmm.
I that's a tender spot in my heart because, as I've told you, family has been there, and I, one didn't make it, and unfortunately died, but a couple of them did. But I just love helping get that message out, even though I'm not an recovering anything, alcoholic or addict. Um, I know it's out there. I know it's a serious problem, and
Mm-hmm.
I want people to know there's hope. And to have guys like you singing that message, because songs will get in a person's heart a lot quicker
Mm-hmm.
than any kind of form of preaching, so to speak. So that's why
That's
I was
true.
excited when I saw your stuff and was listening to it. I was like, wow, this I want to get behind this. What are your with that in mind, what trajectory do you see yourself on? What are your career goals, say over the next 5 years? What are you aiming for?
Um, I'm just aiming to be a good human. You know what I mean? I mean, here's the thing about music is that you got to meet people where they're at. You know,
Hmm.
you got to be
Hmm.
able to sing songs that they don't necessarily have to be where you're at in life at the moment. They have to. A lot of times you got to put a little bait on the hook and throw it out in the water that you just got out of to bring them a little
Yep,
closer to you. You know what I mean? So I
that's
don't
right.
see a problem with a drinking song here every once in a while as long as you get the message across that the end result is usually pain. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's right.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to hit it from a lot of different angles this year. You know, what I mean, I'm trying to make a difference without coming across as like holier than thou. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Hmm.
say either you be sober or get away from me. Because I know a lot of people, a lot of good people that still like to have a beer after work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know a lot of good people that are still struggling pretty hard. I got the thing about it is that, like I said before, everybody's on their own journey. And while I want everybody to be sober, I don't want them to be sober because I want them to be sober. You know what I mean? I want them to be sober because they want to be sober. And if
Right.
that ain't what they want, that ain't what I want. I want them to be happy. You know what I mean? I want you to live your life happy. And if your end result of whatever you're doing in your life is happy, then I'm happy for you. If your end result is you go home and you cry yourself to sleep, you might ought to make a choice. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
change your life. Because
Yeah.
we deserve to be happy in this life,
Hmm.
and that's all there is
Hmm.
to it. If we can't be that, we're doing something wrong.
That's right. So for someone who, when I post this interview and it gets out on podcasts and on YouTube and on my website and other venues, it could be the day it posts, it could be 5 years from now when people are going through those platforms and they come across this interview. What kind of encouragement would you give to the one who's struggling, who is trying, they're they've made that decision for sobriety of whatever their vice was, how would you encourage them? What advice would you give them to help them continue on or to start the
Well,
journey?
well, you got to realize people, places, and things. First thing you need to do is realize that there is a God, and that God will help you through this. If you ever feel alone, pray. You know, just pray and realize that there is a God, and He forgives you. And then second, you need to forgive yourself. You need to get away from people, places, and things. You know, I'm not saying just completely abandon your whole family and everybody like that. But what I'm saying is if you're doing stuff wrong with people, you need to get away from that first for quite a while. Because no matter how healed you feel, you're not healed. You got to heal first. You can't go out there and save the world right off the bat. You got to work on you, and then you can work on the world, you know. And then once you get far enough away from it, you ain't gonna need nobody's guidance. From that point on, you're gonna feel empowered, you know, and you're gonna want to get stronger and stronger and stronger in your sobriety, you know. And then, you know, for me, sometimes, you know, the closer you get to God, the more the devil's knocking at your door. You're gonna have to realize that, you know, and you can't let him knock you off your square, man. You've got to, no matter what bad things happen in your life, face it, you know, because there ain't no escape from it in the bottom of a bottle. There ain't no escape from it in the bottom of a bag. There ain't no escape from it, period. You're just going to have to deal with it head on, you know. And I promise you, if you face one problem and then another problem and then another problem sober, and you get over these problems sober, you're going to realize you never needed that stuff to begin with. So the only advice I got is be strong, believe in yourself, believe in God first and foremost, and you know, God will lead you down the right path. He will. And when it comes time for you to help other people, you'll know it. But don't believe yourself right off the bat, because it ain't until you got you handled. You can't handle nobody else. It's
That's
you
right.
or you what you got. Yeah. I'm
So
going to throw a couple of dates out here
please
before
do.
this is over. This week I'm in actually first off, if you go to my website www.wheyjennings.com, scroll to the bottom, my entire schedule's on there. Or if you want to go to Bands in Town and type in my name, it's there too. My coming up tour is going to be in Arizona and California. This Friday I'll be in Safford, and then we got Safford, New River, and Parker at the Ranch Roadrunners, and then Roadrunner Resort. Then I got 4 days off, and then I'm at Ramona Main Stage in California, and then I've got Wake the Lake in Lake Havasu, Arizona, and then I finish up my Arizona tour at a place called Roosters Country in Mesa, Arizona. And then after that, if you just look up my schedule, I'm all over the place, man. I go from the West Coast to North Carolina to Texas. I'm just all over the place, man. So y'all be sure to come out
Well,
and see a show, talk to me, and let's be friends, man.
all right, sounds good. All right, man. Well, thanks for your time, Whey. And hey, my door is always open to you. So next time you got something coming up, let's do one of these and let the world know.
Sounds good, brother. I appreciate it, man.
All right, take care. Stay safe.
You
Bye
too,
bye.
brother.
This has been another stellar episode of Boomerosity with your host, producer, and friend, Randy Patterson. The theme music is Roll the Dice by our good friend Quentin Hope, and all rights reserved and used by permission, of course. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerosity name, logo, and content is copyright protected, so all segments may only be used with written consent by Boomerosity and or its assignees. You should direct your inquiries to input@boomerosity.com, and the copyright is 2025.